Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in and attending our November 2018 City of New Ulm Park and Recreation Commission meeting. Welcome to our commissioners as well as our guests that are here for the meeting. Appreciate your engagement and attendance. Second item of business on our published agenda is to approve or amend the agenda as published. And there were a few changes in the packet related to the supporting documents, but I'm not aware of any proposed changes to the agenda, so would look for a motion to approve what's been put forth.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the November 15th agenda. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item of business was to, again, we didn't have an October meeting, but to review and approve the September 10th meeting minutes. Those were sent out in the packet. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review them. Would look for any proposed corrections or a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 10th. Or you can take a couple minutes and review them now if you need an extra time. Was a reminder that we had quite the full agenda in September. Lots of updates, and would look for a motion to approve those minutes.
I make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to approve the September 10th meeting minutes. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Continuing on with our agenda, included in the packet were two monthly department activity reports from department leadership. Hopefully everyone had a chance again to review those. Would look for any questions or comments related to the September or October department activity reports. All right. If there are no questions or comments, those will be filed with our meeting packet today. For future reference, we will continue moving on through the agenda. Number 5, City Council meeting recap from September 18th through November 6th. So there were 4 meetings. I would look to Director Schmitz to highlight anything pertinent to Park and Rec Commission.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. September 18th saw the City Council declare items surplus, accept donations, tabled action on the retaining wall slope project up at Herman Heights Park for a 4th time, and directed the mayor to establish a committee to study that potential project, and set the preliminary 2019 budget. October 2nd, the City Council tabled action on exchanging the former water treatment plant on North Front Street with some wild land in the Minnesota River Valley there near 12th North and Front Street. October 16, nothing specific to Park and Rec, and then November 6, tabled action on preparing a design and specifications for the German Park Outdoor Performing Arts Center Amphitheater. They did award the Herman Heights Park Renew project design to Bolton and Mink Incorporated, and then they conducted the first reading of the proposed 2019 fee schedule. That has been City Council action over the past 2 months pertaining to Park and Rec.
Okay, thanks, Director Schmitz. Any questions for Director Schmitz related to City Council business over the last 2 months? Hearing none, we'll move on through the agenda under old business. Renew update has my name listed here, but I think ask Director Schmitz to partner on updates. We continue to have Renew committee meetings with members of the City Council, administration, and other members. Chris is on that committee as well. and pleased with progress. Seems like we're hitting our stride with one project that's been launched, Johnson Park. In just a minute, I'll ask Director Schmitz to give an update on planning activity there. As he just indicated, the Herman Heights project has been awarded to Bolton and Mink, and RFPs are out for the next major project, the Rec Center, and expecting responses, I think, next week.
Yes, Monday, November 19th, the construction manager RFP proposals are due, and then Tuesday, the 20th, the architecture and engineering proposals are due from firms on the 4 projects at the Recreation Center campus.
Just so the Park and Rec Commission is aware, we have discussed and have proposed that we would do interviews with a couple of the firms for the Rec Center project, and would like to schedule those and have someone selected before the end of the year, so we can continue to have that project move forward. We did receive some encouraging news, I think, that maybe the time constraint related to the bond proceeds isn't as tight as we once thought, so it could provide some flexibility, a little longer runway on completing the projects that we feel likely would be necessary with all of them occurring simultaneously. But I would ask Director Schmitz if you could give an update on the kickoff to the Johnson Park project, and a couple other members here on the commission are also interested or involved, but exciting, we have some drawings already.
Certainly, Chair Fryer and Commissioners, thank you. There has been 2 subcommittee meetings on the Johnson Park Renew project. Some of the park commissioners are on that subcommittee, and we have a rendering up on the screen of just the initial concept. We also have some actual blueprints, original design or new design blueprints that we are suggesting a few tweaks with our consultant ISG. So the next subcommittee meeting will be coming up quite soon. Again, we've been going every 2 weeks. So that will, I think we're set to meet on the 29th, I think. Is that correct?
I think it's the 3rd. I think it's December.
Oh, we did move it out to, yes, Monday, December 3rd, 4 o'clock. And so that's moving along. We anticipate design to be complete over the course of the winter. And we hope to, go out for bids with the various construction packages come springtime, and construction to take place over the course of the summer of 2019. Get that project done before Christmas of 2019.
Any questions or comments on the Johnson Park project? That was the first priority of Renew, and seems like we're off and running. Okay. Any other questions or comments on Renew?
As we know, the Herman Heights design project has been awarded to Bolton and Mink, so they are preparing some initial documents for an initial meeting. We'll be having that first subcommittee meeting take place sometime, I presume, in the next month or so. Again, that project doesn't have an urgent timeline like Johnson Park does to prepare for the 2020 double state tournament. So we can design the Herman Heights project, and then that design can sit on the shelf for some time if we don't, want to construct it in 2019. That can be pushed off to 2020 or 2021 for construction. Again, to reiterate what Chair Fryer mentioned on the 18-month supposed deadline to spend sales tax bonds, we have found out that there's no penalty if we don't do that. So there's not the 18-month urgency to spend the sales tax bonds. And so I'm sure the Renew Oversight Committee and the City Council will be interested in making sure that all the T's are crossed and I's dotted rather than rushing through to a suspected deadline. Other than that, discussions are continuing with possible location sites for the dome. And no new information at this point on the dome possibility. But we will know more next week with the rec center proposals coming in, and I would anticipate awarding those, the construction management and the architecture sometime in December, one of the 2 city council meetings in December. and then design beginning in January for the 4 projects at the Recreation Center campus.
Okay, thanks for the update. One more chance. Any questions, comments on Renew? Okay, exciting times. Let's continue on with our agenda here. Item number 7, the Give and Grow program. There was an proposed action sheet included in our packet, and would look to Director Schmitz to again, I think this came through once before, but again, highlight the purpose, background, and what the intent would be with this new program.
Yes, thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. As you recall, this year earlier, March 12th, you recommended to the City Council authorize the establishment of this donation program, and on March 20th, the City Council did. So we have established some guidelines, and that's in the primary issue and alternatives section. Just kind of a formal program to point out and market to the public opportunities for partnerships and donations to the city for programs and improvements to our system. The projects or programs need to be pre-identified and approved by an associated board. They don't have to just be park and rec projects. They can be projects that would be involved with another commission or board or municipal department. And if the donor is interested in recognition or naming rights, those details need to be agreed to in writing prior to the project moving forward. If a project or opportunity surfaces that's not on the authorized list, the City Council certainly has authorization to accept that or enter into an agreement. And projects or programs could be for new development or renovation replacement or augmentation to existing programs. So we will formalize this into a guideline document and then post it on the city website and social media and other avenues similar to what Mankato has in their Wish Book donation opportunity program. So some of the 8 broad categories that I would be putting on into the program initially would be the Outdoor Performing Arts Center project at German Park, benches, park and trail shelters, trees, playground and playground components, outdoor fitness equipment, splash pad or plural splash pads, and then various programs, events, and activities. There's a multitude of opportunity for partnership with various programs, events, and activities that the department's involved with. So I would recommend that you forward this on to the City Council for them to adopt the program guidelines and authorize those 8 projects, programs, or amenities be added for formal inclusion in the program.
Thank you, Director Schmitz. Before we look for action, would open it up for questions. Again, I think we were fully supportive the first time this came through, and now with the specific funding opportunities, I think it's exciting and provides both our city as well as residents a great opportunity to reinvest back in the community. And we have an example coming up under new business, so we'll get to walk through this. Any other questions or comments? If not, I would look for a motion of support.
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, we have a motion,
I'll second.
and we have 2 seconds. So whoever Cheryl marks down is the formal second. Motion and second to recommend the City Council adopt the proposed Give and Grow donation program and guidelines below. Any more discussion?
I would just like to ask one question. I was wondering if some individual wants to donate something that's not on this list, do they go to the City Council to be requested that this, whatever it may be on the list, or how might that be done?
First of all, it would go to the appropriate department and/or commission and board. If it's a park, recreation, or trail project, it would certainly come to the Park and Recreation Department and the commission. So that would be the initial phase for the ideas to come to the appropriate department and then commission or board. and then it would percolate up to the city council for their final adoption or authorization.
Thank you.
So we have motion and second. Thanks for the question. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. On to new business items for this afternoon. We have quite a few donations again. And would ask Director Schmitz if you could review the donations, and then we will look for action.
Thank you very much, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. We have a number of those. The first four are cash donations to the Herman 5K race sponsorship, $150 each from Clausen Mechanical, August Shell Brewing Company, Mike's Collision and Tire Center, and then Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning Incorporated. So that total would be $600 for the Herman 5K, $150 each from those four groups. The trap and skeet range improvements, these are matching, cash matching donations to the DNR state grant that was recently awarded to the city. $15,000 cash from the Sioux Valley Gun Club, $5,000 cash from the Isaac Walton League New Ulm chapter, and $1,000 cash from the Lost Dog and Fox Hunter Club. The final donation, a normal donation kind of on our sheet for this month, is from the Optimist Club of New Ulm. We're very appreciative of $3,000 cash to fund 3 park benches in our system. So the grand total in value of cash is $24,600 offered to the city from these organizations and businesses over the past 2 months. I recommend you forward this on to the city council for their acceptance.
Okay, thank you for the recap, Director Schmitz. Any more questions, comments on the donations? If not, I would look for a motion of support to recommend these to the City Council.
I'll make that motion.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion and second to recommend the City Council accept those donations as listed. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I am really excited for this next item, folks. Number 9 on the new business item, splash pad donation. So we'll ask Director Schmitz to give an update on this one, and then we'll discuss.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. When a large, substantial donation offer comes to the city, we do separate that out from our normal monthly action form, especially when a donation includes the potential of city funding or city matching or a municipal cost. So we have offered to us presently a donation of a splash pad, our first municipal splash pad to be placed in one of our parks, valued at least $115,000 from Barbara Haraldson. She's also requesting that the city fund the site preparation and the utility estimated at approximately $21,000 for the project. She was recently involved with donating a splash pad to the city of Red Wing with similar dollar figures and a similar arrangement. A splash pad is an aquatic play feature that has no standing water or water depth and therefore no need for lifeguards or drowning possibility. New Ulm, we do not have a splash pad yet, so this would be our first, and it can be enjoyed by all ages and all abilities. There are 2 broad categories of splash pads. One is a recirculating splash pad that has a filtration system and a sanitation system like chlorine. So the water circulates underground through the filtration and sanitation system. And that type of recirculating splash pad has the opportunity of continuous spray or larger volume of water going through the amenities. The second broad category is a non-recirculating splash pad, which is significantly less expensive and has less maintenance and less operational requirements. And that's just simply where you press a button and that triggers a short duration of mist or light spray from the amenities of water, and then the water exits into our municipal stormwater system. So again, no filtration, no sanitation, and significantly less maintenance involved in the non-recirculating system. Red Wings is a non-recirculating system, and that's the type that New Ulm City staff recommends. Staff has looked at all of our 40 park units and has kind of narrowed it down to 3 recommendations for parks of our staff, including Herman Park, Nels Park, and Riverside Park. Of those 3, only one has restroom facilities, and that's Herman Park. Let's see here. I think that's about it. You have in the packet depictions of the splash pad that was installed in the city of Red Wing this past summer. And I would recommend that you forward this on to the city council for their acceptance and agreement to entering into an arrangement with Ms. Barb Haraldson, accepting her generous donation and committing the city to site preparation and utilities unless another partner steps forward and desires to partner with this project and fund site preparation and the utility connections.
All right, well, thank you, Director Schmitz, for the exciting update and more background on this proposed action. I would say, at least from comments from my standpoint, being on the commission for nearly 6 years, we did a survey ahead of or prior to the Renew projects, and I remember many requests for outdoor water park, outdoor pool, outdoor items like of this nature. And through the Renew process, we wanted to focus our efforts on the indoor year-round activities, and knew it would be challenging to revisit the topic of outdoor pools. But we have had this item on our wish list for a while, trying to move it into the budget category, and just hasn't happened. So at least know from folks I've talked to and working on that survey that there was strong interest in this sort of project for the community. And I think the design of it to not require staffing is a big thing for us to be able to bring a new new project on board without the operational costs of staffing.
I would agree.
So those were at least comments when I saw this come through. At least for me, was very excited and grateful for the generosity of Barb Haraldson on this project. Questions for Director Schmitz or other comments related to this proposed project? Another good day for New Ulm in my category, or in my book, so. If I didn't say I was excited about this one, I'm excited about this one, and all the other things we're doing too, but this would be a great one. Did have an opportunity, and Melanie and others chime in, but as we're talking about the possible park locations, as I think about raising kids in a family and these sorts of activities, at least for me, I would highly recommend Herman with the restrooms and the facilities. I think it would be challenging just with kids not having any restrooms or building facilities to be able to utilize for changing, for unexpected whatever's going on during the recreation. I would see that as kind of a must-have, having a restroom. Melanie, would you
Especially
chime
for
in?
changing and whatnot after they're soaking wet.
And just restrooms.
Yes.
I mean, just being able to
Yes.
have a restroom break.
Yeah, the other parks do have portable restrooms seasonally in the summer, but not.
I wouldn't want to change in there, Tom. Speak for me. Noted, Leroy?
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
I absolutely agree.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
I think this is a great opportunity for us because we travel to other cities just to use these sort of things. Just because it's something different. It's fun.
Safe,
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
agree. Okay, could we receive a motion to recommend accepting this donation and get started on the project planning?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion
Second it.
and we have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thanks, everyone. On to the next item. German Park Outdoor Performing Arts Center update. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. This is a recommendation for you to consider forwarding onto the City Council, asking them to authorize an RFP, request for proposal be drafted, and proposals solicited to create construction documents and an updated cost estimate for the Outdoor Performing Arts Center Amphitheater project that we've been talking about for about a decade in German Park. And the reason this is becoming a little more urgent at this point in time is that the original donor of $25,000 cash back in 2015 is concerned that the project hasn't moved forward. It hasn't been completed or even designed. And so that individual is suggesting wanting the $25,000 donation returned if the project's not moving forward and potentially delivered to the public in 2019. Along with that, the $100,000 pledge is in the same category. That pledger is requesting that the project move forward expeditiously and hopefully be delivered to the community in 2019, or the $100,000 pledge will go elsewhere. So you have before you in the packet and a hard copy of the report that was commissioned by Bolton and Mink in 2013. We also, with those cost estimates and options back at that time, and then an updated 2019 cost estimate for Phase 1. And that's all I'm recommending at this point in time, is that we move forward with Phase 1. Phase 1 is the basic amphitheater structure itself, the concrete footings, the concrete terraces, the accessible ramp, stairway, hand railings, and so on, so that people can bring their lawn chairs and set them on hard surface terraces, or they can sit on the edge of the terraces also. So the financial report shows that there's a number of options for the horizontal terraces in the report, and I'm recommending we go with the least expensive, which is the hard surface option, which is just plain concrete. There would be grass as an option, but that of course requires maintenance and mowing and irrigation. Then there's stamped colored concrete, which is more expensive. Then there's paver stones, which are more expensive and require maintenance. So I'm suggesting we just go with the concrete horizontal terraces. But then also to include Artstone with their pledge for product, I would suggest that we up the aesthetics of that. We improve the aesthetics with an Artstone veneer on the vertical walls. And so those are the two options that I would suggest above and beyond the basic grass terrace concept. And back in 2013, that was estimated at $390,000. 2019, it's estimated at $467,000, Phase 1. We have approximately $100,000 in cash in the city account for this project, and $161,000 in pledges, including the Artstone pledge of product. So let's see here. The packet has the entire report. I want to get to the final financial page, which would be page 45 in the packet of 54. So page 45 shows you the grand total of $331,050 available in cash and pledges. And the breakdown in 2019 dollars of construction at about $374,000, 15% additional of that for design, bidding, and construction administration of $56,000, and 10% above the estimated construction cost of $37,000 for contingency, 10%. So that grand total, construction estimate, design, bidding, construction administration, and contingency is $467,337. So that means there's approximately $136,300 remaining to close the gap from pledges and cash to the estimated total need for phase one. It's $136,300. So my understanding is that fundraising will continue, but that in order to potentially have this project delivered to the community in 2019, design needs to happen, and we do have funds in the bank earmarked for this project, and we have cash available to pay for design. So I'm suggesting we send out RFPs and get some design proposals. We'll review those, come back to the Park Commission and then the City Council to recommend awarding the design phase. And then after design is completed, we would be approving the design, going out for bids, and awarding the bids eventually come springtime or late winter for a potential 2019 construction. So this is just step one of the process, and that is to get a design put together so that it has the potential to be bid out.
Director Schmitz, is there a picture in the packet that you think would best reflect phase one? There's quite a few photos of other community projects, but I was just curious for all of us to.
Yes, I would say the depiction, Chair Fryer and Commissioners, on page 31. That is the Bolton and Mink landscape architecture design concept. And that is showing grass terraces of the horizontal nature, and I would be recommending that we go with concrete. It also shows pergolas and shade structures, which I'm not proposing in phase one. So that's kind of the proposed initial design concept. As far as photos go, page 36 has got, I think that's St. Louis Park with grass. Well, again, I would be proposing concrete on the horizontal terraces. We can skip over that Vetterstone one in Mankato. Page 38 has got the original German Park redevelopment concept, again showing grass terraces, and I would recommend concrete. Page 39 has got a decent photo, but again, grass. So imagine accessible concrete terraces as opposed to grass.
So there would be no grass.
On the horizontal terraces, no. There would be grass on the sides and in the periphery, and there would be at least one staircase, probably down the middle, if not more staircases, but at least one staircase. And then the top would have a ramp, an accessible ramp coming down from German Street sidewalk. And that, like I say, again, is just phase one. There's potential to add staircases or add ramps, add shade structures and pergolas, updated lighting systems and audio systems and more intricate landscaping. That could all be handled in potential future phases. But I'm recommending we move forward with phase one, the basic concept, and deliver that to the community in 2019, hopefully.
Okay, any questions for Director Schmitz based on the proposed project?
I see on page 31, they've got the handicap seating area. Is that still supposed to be included in phase one?
Yes. Yes, that certainly would be included, yes.
Any other questions on the German Park Performing Arts Center proposal? Again, I think the request is for design services to be commissioned to get a better handle on costs through a bidding process in early 2019.
Yes, and to have an approved design ready to bid out once that's authorized or recommended by the commission and authorized by the council.
Well, at least from my standpoint, I understand the individual that made the donation, the individual that made the pledge, needing to have some sort of certainty that the project is going to actually happen within a certain time frame. So I think it's a moment of the city needs to make a decision here on proceeding, or at least understanding the donor's pledger may make a different decision with their funds.
I would agree with that, and the fact that two of the pledgers have also stated to me that they may be increasing their pledge if this project moves forward expeditiously.
Maybe with the hope of design and more elements of the project, others may come forward
Yes,
with interest in participating.
I would expect that.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I would be looking for action from the commission. Is there support for making a motion?
So moved, I support it.
Okay, we have a motion to recommend the city council authorize professional design services and an RFP to be drafted for the Performing Arts Center and German Park. Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Any more discussion?
I'd like to speak.
Okay, you want to come up? State your name and address and brief comments?
This will work for this. You can put that up on the screen. My name is Michael Shannon, 118 North Garden, and I'm here to support Tom. I was at the city council meeting last week, or was it last week, Tom? And Tom had asked for the opportunity to at least get the ball rolling. And it turned out that the city council is delaying his his motion to have this survey done. So that's 30 days. If we look at time with Johnson Park, and Tom is going to be under the gun, and I pose the question, do you think Tom can get this all done in the time frame that is allotted to him? And it wasn't a definitive, I've got Tom's back from city council. So I'm here to try to get the city parks behind Tom to get it behind the city council. Because Tom, through this project with Renew, with German, with Herman, with Vogel, is going to need to know that the city is behind him. So in looking at this, unfortunately, I am the stone in Tom's shoe. I constantly will push and see what the limits are of that relationship. If you look at German Park goes down the street from Johnson Baseball, Johnson Football, German. I'm on the Herman Heights Special Committee to get that approved. So we're trying to suggest and find out what is the most important to get done. If we look at visitors that are coming into town for the baseball tournament, are we going to skip German and do Herman? Are we going to do Herman and not German? What are we going to do? And that's the thing that I was looking at, is to see, as a city, we should have our best. We should be at our best when these teams are here. And to look at German Park, as I did, German Park currently is not an amphitheater. and cannot be an amphitheater the way it's being constructed. The stage is on the floor. So when a band is actually performing, there's no sound barrier bellowing that out. So in looking at the picture right now, we're talking about redoing half of what's available to the park. It's if you were renovating a car, you don't paint half of it. You look at what's available as the entire scope. The bandstand in the back, I've sat on the hill numerous times this year. I've got a boot on for my foot, and I've been at German Park observing every Monday night their free concert. Most of the people are not going down the hill. Most of the people would park in their car and watch. So what my thought would be is to make the band where these elevations are going to be. Make that the stage. So what you're doing is you're making the people go down to the flat surface. Right now, there is existing handicap pathways to that area. I would never, in my state of disability, walk down a step, walk down a ramp to get to a grassed area to sit on a concrete abutment. It just doesn't make sense for me. I count steps because of my disability. The people that are watching the amphitheater are watching from afar under the trees. They're not going down to where an area would be as you want it to be a performing center. So if you took the stage and rotated it so that way it faces out, it faces out, you could then use the bandstand that is there, that is used for much of nothing right now as of storage. So my thought is to take the current stage, what they're calling it, and make that the dance floor. Because as a performer, band, be it whoever they are, I mean the Concord Singers, they have people walking in front of them all the time. If that's not a distraction for a band, then I don't know what is. I mean, if we took and elevated the stage just so it's 3 foot higher and put it into this tiered section, we now have established a difference. And then we can incorporate that back area, as Tom and I discussed a year ago, about sponsoring super boxes. So that way you'd have the bandstand with a box on either side to support it, and then possibly bleachers in the front. They could be temporary bandstands on the backside next to the bigger one, because a lot of this, and I don't have the pictures, but if we talk about tiering it with concrete, you talk about additional maintenance. If I sit on the edge of a concrete abutment and there's grass behind me, I'm blocking the guy behind me. It's not set up to have it tiered. And then you have it tiered, then it's grassed. I mean, it's all these things that run into, why are we doing this? I mean, if Johnson Park is going to be set up, it's like Target Field. You don't put another amphitheater next to Target Field. You use Target Field as a concert venue. So you're spending all the money on Johnson Park. Why would you spend the additional money on German Park to have an amphitheater that's just like Johnson? So going down the street, you could utilize some of the design of Johnson and incorporate it into a smaller layout with a clamshell like you have in the one picture that faces down and is a smaller venue. It could be for, there again, it could be for weddings. It could be for graduation. There's multiple things that could be utilized if the stage was in the hill. And the money spent, you could you're not spending that much money, but if it goes well, then you just leave it. If it doesn't go well, it's your foundation for the concrete steps going back up. So it's not too far-fetched what I'm suggesting, but I'm also suggesting it in a way that uses all of the park. Right now, the way it sets, you're only using half of that park if you're watching a venue. And that would be the other thing. We're taking money away from other parks, Herman, Heights, to put into this, if we so choose to dump more money into German. If we can do it in a way that saves money and takes these portable stages that could be used as sponsor boxes in the back. I mean, we use German Park on Monday nights, Wednesday nights. I mean, that, I don't have a statistical number that says the use of German, the use of Herman, the use of other parks. You know, we can't have premier parks all over the place and only use them a tenth of the time, or whatever the statistic is. I don't see the statistical numbers as a taxpayer to go, hey, throw all that money in there because that makes sense. You know, if we're going to put Johnson on the map, Johnson could be our awesome amphitheater. It could be a concert location because you have the fence around it. Instead of taking money away, we could add money to the revenue if we were to bring in venues, or musical venues. You know, that's my thought, and I always support Tom, and just, I got lengthy with this. I'm excited about it. I really am. But I also want Tom to know that I have his, you know, he has my support, but we also have to think this out so that way all of these projects, when these teams come from out of town, it's not, oh, well, German's almost done. Herman's going to be on the back burner because. No, these guys are coming here for one time. This could be the opportunity that we need to drive more tourism to New Ulm. And if we do the German Park right, that could also be the second venue for Oktoberfest. We have closed off Center Street for Oktoberfest. We could move that north and use German Park as a performance venue for additional people. The festival is just going to grow. So if we can set it up so that way we think in the future so it can grow and not limit ourselves with something, the bandstand looked cool at the time, but now we look back and go, maybe that wasn't a great idea. You know, the tiered steps may look great on a photo, but is it what New Ulm needs? You know, let's look at what Johnson Park has and kind of emulate that or copy that and make a footprint for that whole entire street. Because as you know, with all these teams here, they're going to want to step into New Ulm. Sorry for taking so much time, but I do appreciate it. I get pretty passionate about these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Any other discussion on the German Park project? Any follow-up comments from you, Director Schmitz?
Just that I'm recommending the design phase. Michael talked a lot about individual design elements and components, and that would all be flushed out through a public, transparent design process.
Okay. We have a motion and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, everyone. On to our last item of new business, Lutheran Social Services Senior Dining Lease. Director Schmitz, and there's a attachment in the packet here.
Yes, thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. We're nearing the end of the calendar year, and that's an opportunity to review a variety of different lease agreements that the city has with other organizations. And the one before you today is with Lutheran Social Services, the provider that offers senior dining to the community and beyond the community of New Ulm, out of the community center, utilizing the kitchen and the cafetorium. So there's an opportunity for the commission and the council to consider altering the lease slightly. And one item for discussion is the fee, the per day rate. And presently, it's $50 a day, $51 a day here, we are correct. It was reduced, you could see in the action form back in 2015, from $86.50 down to $50 per day. And that remained in effect for 2 years. In 2016, the rate was authorized to change for 2017, and it went up $1 a day to $51. So that basically has remained in effect for all of 2017 and 2018. And so one consideration would be a cost of living increase, cost of inflationary increase, and you have before you the potential to increase from $51 to $53 per day. I think that's approximately a 2% increase. So that's one item to consider. And then there are 3 other recommended possible changes to the lease verbiage. Back on item 5, senior dining takes place Monday through Friday, basically over the noon hour in the community center. But we had inadvertently left out Monday through Friday in the lease agreement in the past. So we're recommending that we put Monday through Friday into the lease agreement. Also, the present and original lease agreement talks, some of these meals are, they're all prepared at the community center, and some of them are delivered off-site. Some of them elsewhere in the city, and some of them outside of the city in rural areas, and some actually into other municipalities. And so we're recommending that the verbiage be changed from off-site to out of New Ulm city limits, out of city limits. And then there's a question of whether or not the present 75% going off-site should be modified or out of town in the lease. You have in the details, the action form, that approximately 37 to 53% of the meals prepared in the community center go to individuals outside of New Ulm city limits. So it might be an idea to change that 75% figure down to 50%, or anything that the commission and potentially the council has an interest in changing. You have the history down there in the budgetary fiscal issues. Back in about 2015, when we did a cost analysis, I think our municipal cost was in the $95 per day cost of utilities and other services. And that's why the lease rate was about $86.50 back then. But Lutheran Social Services requested a decrease, and that was authorized by the city council back in 2015, down to $50. So it's that time of year to review leases, and these are some potential recommended changes to the Lutheran Social Services senior dining lease at the community center.
Okay, thanks for the overview, Director Schmitz. Would open it up for questions from the commission related to the proposed action on the Lutheran Social Services lease agreement. This one question, did we recently upgrade appliances? Am I remembering correctly?
We normally replace an appliance one a year or every 2 years as they completely wear out.
Okay. But we're responsible for the appliances, correct?
For replacing them, correct.
Okay. All right. Questions on this proposal? Is there a recommendation from the commission to forward on to the city council? This is a quiet group today.
Chair Fryer, I do know that there are some representatives here. I don't know if they have any desire to speak or not.
Okay. If you're interested, yeah, if you'll come up to the podium, state your name and
Good evening. I'm Sarah Anderson with Lutheran Social Service. I'm the regional manager for our nutrition program for Brown County, and I'm going to allow my supervisor to kind of take over just because don't have much of a voice. We do also have our local staff, Barb Sellner, our head cook, and Sue Date, our site coordinator, who are there Monday through Friday at the community center. And as just a side note on the equipment, I think the most recent thing that was replaced was one of the ovens, and that's been a couple years. So it's not necessarily that every year something is replaced in the kitchen. So, and this
Sarah.
is my supervisor, Andrea Blingle.
Hi, Andrea.
Hello, my name is Andrea Blingle. As we said, we're with Lutheran Social Service. I'm a statewide program director, and we just wanted to come here tonight and ask that you reconsider the request for the increase in the rent, and propose that it would be back down to the I think it's at $51 a day. Or I'm sorry, yeah, $51 a day, and ask that it be held at that. This year, for 2018, we are state and federally funded. We receive money through the Minnesota Board on Aging, which then goes down to the Area Agency on Aging, and we work directly with the Minnesota River Area Agency on Aging. For 2019, we had some stagnant funding, which is, pretty typical these days. And with that, we've experienced the squeeze, like I'm guessing like everybody has as well. We had to reduce in one of the sites that we service out of this community is Springfield, and we had to reduce service there and no longer provide congregate meals, which has been a loss in revenue for us. We have also, for 2000, how our program works is anyone 60 or older can either come down to the community center or receive Meals on Wheels. We have a suggested donation. And so how it works is that we ask those that are eligible, we ask for a certain suggested donation, and they are able to pay what they can afford. And essentially no one's turned away because of inability to pay. Which also has a double-edged sword. In 2018, due to kind of stagnant funding and decreases in funding, we decided to increase our suggested donation and really encourage those that can contribute to contribute towards their meal. So we were at in 2017, we were at a suggested donation of $4 a meal, and we were receiving anywhere from, I'd say an average of $3 a meal. 2018, we increased it and had a suggested donation of $4.50 in hopes that people would be able to increase their contribution even just a little bit. And actually, it had the adverse effect, and we actually have been receiving less contributions. So we went from, for instance, congregate dining in 2017, we averaged $2.79 a meal. And 2018, so far, we've received an average of $2.52 a meal. So this also tells us something. Our program is geared to serve those that are low income, high nutrition risk, frail older adults. Our goal is to keep them at home as long as safely possible by offering nutrition. It's one of the very basics, but something people often forget. Things like when you get discharged from the hospital and your medications were just changed and you're exhausted because you were sick. Getting proper nutrition can really help keep you out of the hospital. We want to keep people out of institutions and in their home where they'd like to be. So with that, we've received less revenue with that suggested donation, even though we were asking. It's showing us that they're still not able to afford, which is good, because if they can't afford $4.50 for a meal, it also sparks for us, what else aren't they able to afford? Are they able to afford prescription drugs? Are they able to afford heating for their house in the winter? There's a number of things that we think of, and other things don't get to be as flexible as we do, saying, well, take the meal, even if you can't pay, take this nutritious meal, get a well-balanced, at least one a day, and we'll continue to serve you. We can't cut you off. So with those things, we would ask that you would consider keeping the rent as it is. And I also just want to point out, as far as the meals that are cooked in New Ulm, and we call it a satellite site. So they get satellite out to different communities. Those communities are Comfrey, Sleepy Eye, Springfield, St. James, and then we also keep some here in New Ulm. We see that 48% are staying right here in this community. I believe a lot of the communities around New Ulm see New Ulm as a regional hub. And they come and they give business here. They're going to the doctor here. And so with that, all of those are in Brown County except for St. James. So a lot of what we're doing here does stay in New Ulm. We also have 7 employees at the community center. We have cooks, site manager, assistant cooks, transporters, all right here at New Ulm. Anything you want to add, Sarah?
Just that our revenue from the area agency is on a per meal served basis. So you want to point out the construction.
Excuse me. Don't want to make her talk too much there. We have noticed, do the construction in New Ulm, which we appreciate it's getting done, right? You have to do the maintenance in the city. And we have noticed our New Ulm numbers going down slightly because we've had to miss some serving days. People haven't been able to get in due to the construction, so that's also affected our revenue as well.
Okay.
Sue,
Yeah.
want to?
I was going to say, Sue, she was going to share a story about someone who dines. Do you want to come?
I think that means, I guess, yes, I will come. Given
Yeah,
you put me on
I
the
know.
spot. Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, I'm Sue Date, and I'm the site coordinator, and I love my job, and I love the people that we serve. And I hear from family members of our diners that call and say, without you, I don't think we could leave mom or dad where they are. We'd have to move them either close to where we are or into a facility. And that's real heartwarming to hear, because sometimes we are the only people that connect with our diners during a day. I have drivers. We have 95 volunteer drivers, and they go out in pairs of 2. And they report back, I couldn't get Joe Smith to answer the door. What can we do? Bring the meal back. We'll call the family and find out, did he have a doctor's appointment? Is he out for lunch with friends? And then the family calls back, or we even have to do sometimes to call the police department and ask them to do a welfare check. Are they okay? And when the family calls back, they are so grateful that someone cared enough to check on their family member, plus bringing nutrition to their home. We send not only a hot meal, but we also provide a frozen meal for the weekend if it's so needed. So the nutrition is an important part, but also the connection with our drivers.
Okay. Thank you, Sue.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the updates and information. Would look to the commissioners. Are there any additional questions that you would have?
I was just wondering, do you provide any information to the elderly as to other help they can get?
Should have kept you up there for a couple minutes. Sorry, my fault.
No problem. One thing that we like to say is we're more than just a meal. So, yep, we provide the hot, nutritious meal. We provide a wellness check. We often say that we're definitely a connection to the community. The volunteers who work, and deliver Meals on Wheels, like Sue said, it probably is the only person that they see or talk to a day. So they notice things, and then we get them in touch with other services that might be in the community and to other things going on in the community. Let them know what's happening. Become very secluded, very isolated. Depression, things like that. It's the same thing with our congregate dining as well. We are very often that connection to the community with Sue being the coordinator, really working with the people one-on-one. If they're feeling comfortable, it becomes like family. And so they might tell our staff things that, and ask them for help or in need of a resource that they're not going to tell their family. Because their family might think, well, it's time to get them moving on or something like that. But become very much a connection for them to the other resources within the community.
Just specifically, we do have the senior linkage line come in to the center. United Way publishes a senior services directory, a paper booklet, and we've distributed that to our Meals on Wheels and our congregate diners. That's regularly updated by United Way, and they do print that regularly with updates, so we do distribute that. When United Way has their Day of Caring, we promote that. Red Cross has the smoke alarms, we distribute that kind of information. So just specifically, that's the sort of thing we do share with our elderly.
They do know about the food shelf and county options and other things.
They also receive the Weaver, yes, and so the food shelf is in that senior services directory.
Thank you. Any other questions by the commission? Okay. We'll look for a recommendation or a motion related to the proposed lease agreement for 2019.
Chair Fryer and Commissioners, I do just want to point out a couple of items in the action form and the overview section. Number 2, of course, is that the city has gone on record, the city council has gone on record as valuing the Lutheran social service function for our resident seniors. And then down overview item number 6. I think we heard the representatives say that over 50% of the meals prepared in town go to residents of other cities. So I think it's important to understand that New Ulm taxpayers are funding meals for other cities' residents. And that's just a policy decision of the commission and ultimately the council.
Okay, thank you, Director Schmitz. Again, would look for a proposed motion on the 2019 lease agreement.
I'll propose that we do the $53 a day, and then changing the verbiage Monday through Friday into the out of New Ulm city limits, and recommend that it be changed to have limit to 50% of maximum meals delivered out of city limits.
Okay, so if I'm following here, there is a motion or a recommendation, $53 per day, and B, C, and D, with D filling in the blank at 50%. Is that correct? Okay, is there a second to that motion? We'll call again. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion and second for proposed rate for 2019 at $53 per day, Monday through Friday being added to the lease. verbiage change from off-site to out of New Ulm city limits, and a recommendation of maximum meals at 50%. Is there any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That will be a recommendation to the city council. Thanks for the information that's been shared and service there. I looked at my agenda and obviously wasn't looking very closely. Under number 1, welcome and introductions. My apologies. She may have stayed for the entire meeting anyway, but Liz Malloy is new program supervisor with the Park and Rec Commission. And my apologies again, Liz, for waiting this long to introduce and recognize you. Thanks for being here. Would you like to share a little bit of your background and so far first impressions?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm come from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I spent 8 years there as athletic coordinator, doing a lot of youth and adult sports programs. And then the last couple years at our new rec center, being a part of that schedule and bringing that new facility and getting it up and running. And I'm really excited to be here and a part of all the new exciting programs and facilities that we have coming.
Okay. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you. Okay, I think we covered old business and the new business items. Under reports, Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Fryer and Commissioners. I just have a couple that I want to point out, and the first one is another end-of-year topic related to commissioner terms. And the last page of the 54-page packet has got the list of our commissioners and their terms. We only have one commissioner that is completing a second entire full 3-year term for a grand total of 6 consecutive years, and that is our Chair, Toby Fryer. So at some point, I imagine the mayor will look at appointing a replacement for our Chair, Toby, and I'm excited that we've got at least one more month left with his leadership, and only one commissioner turnover at the end of 2018. So no action necessary, just an information item. And the only other thing I would like to mention is simply that we are, Liz and other staff members are working diligently to prepare the winter and spring brochure, which comes out in December. And registration will take place in January. So keep your eyes and ears posted for that. We'll have more information and exact details on dates and times for registration and distribution of the winter seasonal program and activity brochure. Other than that, we are wrapping up an Eagle Scout project in Minnicon Park. Eagle Scout candidate Brandon Huffman has just completed some brush clearing and site establishments in Minnicon Park. So I have no other announcements or urgent updates from the department.
Okay, thank you, Director Schmitz. As I was continuing to page through our handouts here, I got to page 53, and I think I need to ask just one question of clarification for Director Schmitz or Assistant Director Corman. On the meal counts, so the bottom line here is percentage out of City of New Ulm, and the just previous motion on the 50% level, assume that's for the year. Is that correct? And that's related to the City of New Ulm kind of helping financially support meals going to other communities. If there was funding support from the other communities, does that percentage in your mind and kind of recommending that change? So, for example, I think they had mentioned the City of Springfield stopped offering the congregate dining, so now there's a delivery there. If they wanted to help offset the cost, is the percentage as big of a deal anymore? I assume the percentage is being proposed because It's just New Ulm helping to fund the entire food program, which covers multiple cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they were helping contribute, then would the percent meals going elsewhere even be an issue? Maybe I'm not asking the question.
Well, would it be that the other municipalities are funding the $53 a day, or above and beyond the $53 a day, Lease? I mean,
I was just wondering for Lutherans, coming to the New Ulm city here, helping financially put the program together to get the meals out, if the other cities made some contribution toward that, would the city feel differently about what would be needed to help support the community center operation?
I think that would be correct. I think that would be a very reasonable concept.
Is what I'm sensing from this of what their story and looking at the numbers. It's going to be hard for probably those programs to be standalone in small communities, so there is probably some scale needed there. But how do the economics work to make sure kind of all parties are trying to support the program that are benefiting or that are receiving the service? Is that correct or fair?
Yes, I think so.
Trying to put all these pieces together of
Yes.
what's all being discussed here. Okay, and the city council can consider that next week.
Mhm.
Are there other commissioner reports? Anything for follow-up? If there are none, our next meeting is scheduled back to Monday, December 10th, 4 p.m. And look forward to seeing everyone again. And we will adjourn this meeting. Thanks, everyone.